Yeah.
Okay, good morning. We're after Pesach, Parashat Kedoshim. Started.
Good. And good morning, because since it's Yom HaZikaron, we won't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so good morning, Mr. Prosner. I said that next week is Yom HaZikaron, and I cannot give on 9:30 on Wednesday. So either we move to Tuesday at the same time, or that we do it on other time on Wednesday. So we'll see. Bezrat Hashem, we'll talk on Shabbat. Okay, let's start with Midrash Rabbah, Parashat Kedoshim, Parashat Kaf The Torah says Parashat Kedoshim is short when you read it separately, but the Torah repeats again the Parasha of Arayot. We find it in Perek Yud-Chet on Parashat Achremot, and again in Parashat Kedoshim on Perek Kaf. And you know that the Gemara says that each punishment you need one time to warn a warning, a zara, and one time to punish. In any מערכת חוקים, in any set of rules, you have the to steal is forbidden. Anyone who steals is punished by 3 years of sentence or something like this. So the same thing happens in Parashat Achremot and Parashat Kedoshim. Parashat Achremot says the warnings for Ayas, and Parashat Kedoshim, Perek Kaf, brings the punishment, the karet. The Torah starts, as we know, we read it on, we learn it on מנחה של יום כיפור, כמעשה ארץ מצרים אשר ישבתם בה לא תעשו, וכמעשה ארץ כנען אשר אתם באים שמה לא תעשו, וכולי וכולי. So the Torah says that everything I'm going to tell you now about Arayot, which now looks to us very, very strange. Why does the Torah have to warn about it, to punish it? It's just something that doesn't happen so much. So the Torah says that it was a Maaseh Eretz Mitzrayim. Now we'll deal with what the Maaseh Eretz Mitzrayim means. So the Midrash starts, פרשת כ"ג א', כמעשה ארץ מצרים, הדאוד הכתיב, in שיר השירים, שלמה המלך describes עם ישראל as שושנה בין החוכים. It's a rose among the thorns. What does it mean? Rabbi Yitzchak Pater Kra berivka. So we understand that Shoshana ben Achochim means something that is really good among others that are really bad. And you see the distinction of the good, of the rose, the redness, how nice it is among not other flowers, but among other thorns, other kotzim. So thistles. So the Midrash says, Rabbi Yitzchak says, it's Rivka. Rivka, we learn that she grew up in a house that was full of עבודה זרה, of לבן, בתואל, whatever, שנאמר, ויהי יצחק בן 40 שנה. ויקחתו את רבקה בת בתואל הארמי מפדן ארם. אם נלמד שהיא מפדן ארם, מה תלמוד לומר אחות לבן הארמי? Yes, we know that she's from Padan Aram, but we don't need all the משפחולוגיה, yes, that she was a brother of לבן, אלא אבי הרמאי, ואנשי מקומה רמאים, והצדקת הזו יוצאת מבינתיים. So as a lot of other times in the Midrash doesn't learn Arami like Aramaic coming from Aram, but the Midrash learns אותיות רמאי. Sometimes we don't find it in the Midrash, but very subtly, the Midrash uses gimatriot. The Midrash uses what we call in Hebrew sikul itzurim, changing of letters. Some plays, as we call it, that we do it in drashot, but the Midrash itself does it a lot of times. Even the Gemara does it a lot of times. You just have to find a lot of the limudim of the Gemara, the drashot, are based on gimatriot, sometimes on shinui, kesev, keves, etc. So the Gemara, the Midrash says Avia Ramai, meaning that her father is a cheater, and her place people are cheaters. והצדקת הזאת יוצאת מבינתיים, and even though she is צדקת, that's why she is שושנה בין החוכים, she is very very unique. למה היא דומה? לשושנה בין החוכים. So that's not related to our פרשה. רבי פנחס ברבי סימון אמר, כתיב, וישלח יצחק את יעקב, וילך אל לבן הארמי. So at the end of פרשת תולדות, when Yaakov steals the brachot, so his father sends him to his Aram, and then he says El Lavan ben Betuel Arami. So the Midrash understands Klalan Kulan Baramaut. So actually, it's ironic in a way that Yaakov, that was just accused now of cheating his brother in the brachot, is sent to a place which is all full of cheating. That's what Rav Pinchas wants to say, that from the very beginning, Yitzchak wasn't naive. He knew exactly where he was sending Yaakov to, and just because of the fear of Esav, he preferred to send him away, to לקחת לו אישה. Actually, Yitzchak is interested in the marriage, while Rivka is more interested in the shelter, but both of them know well who they're dealing with. Okay, רבי אליעזר פתר קרא, now אות ב', בגאולת מצרים. It's not a specific person, Rivka, which is bolet, which is unique among the other thistles, but it's גאולת מצרים, עם ישראל כולו. מה שושנה זו, כשהיא נתונה בין החוכים, היא קשה על בעלה ללוקתה. So the Shoshana ben Achuchim doesn't mean only the beauty of the redness of the rose, while the background is not other nice flowers, but thistles. The Shoshana ben Achuchim stresses out the difficulty in picking up the Shoshana, because, you know, you get scratched. היא קשה על בעלה ללוקתה. כך הייתה גאולתן של ישראל קשה לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא להיגאל. Nothing is difficult to הקדוש ברוך הוא, but it means that the distinction between עם ישראל and אומות העולם is very difficult to הקדוש ברוך הוא. As we know, we just came from קריאת ים סוף, and we know the מדרשים, the גמורות, that on קריאת ים סוף itself, so מלאכים, the angels ask הקדוש ברוך הוא, אלו ואלו עובדי עבודה זרה, מה נשתנו אלו מאלו? Meaning that both of them are equal. And you know that we say sometimes in the Zohar that Am Yisrael was exempt from 49 gates of Tum'ah. Had it come to the 19th, to the 50th. So they wouldn't be able to legael, to be exempt. So what does it mean? It means that it's just a matter of time, because had HaKadosh Baruch Hu waited 2 years more, 2 hours more, so they wouldn't have had the zchut legael. So there is no difference actually between them and Umot HaOlam. They are very similar to Mitzrayim. They are just a matter of time. So הגאולה של עם ישראל in Mitzrayim is very difficult לקדוש ברוך הוא. הדאו דכתיב, that's what the Torah writes in פרשת דברים. או הניסה אלוקים לבוא לקחת לו גוי מקרב גוי. I think that the Midrash replies to a different Midrash that says that גוי מקרב גוי, meaning to be like a מיילדת. ממש to give birth to the מיילדת of an animal. They send she sends her arm into the stomach or the womb of the animal to take the embryo out of it. So meaning that Am Yisrael is ממש משוקע, is ממש internalize the Egyptian culture. And now HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the sheep, the Mitzrayim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to take Am Yisrael out of it, and it's the same thing. So it's ממש לא שושנה בין החוכים. According to the Midrash, Am Yisrael is not unique, לכאורה, is not unique, as the behemah, as the embryo of the animal is inside it, and it's a part of it. And you know that in the Gemara we say that ubar yerech imo, an embryo is considered as a part of it, the mother's body, etc. So Am Yisrael is considered as a part of the Egyptian culture. But the difficulty for HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like Shoshana ben Achochim. Elu ve'elu arelim. Both of them don't make milah, according to the Midrash. Elu megadlei blorit, ve'elu megadlei blorit. Yeah, so here you see what we call the retrospective Midrash, because Elu megadlei blorit, the Midrash uses things from the Midrash time, a problem with the Greek culture, a problem with the Roman culture of megadlei bloriyot. You know that in the Gemara, as I said, the Kehilat shel Romi are megadlei bloriyot. They have a big hair, and they cut here, and they have here a lot of hair. So that's a problem of tilboshet umot haolam, etc. Elu lofshei kilayim ve'elu lofshei kilayim. Yes, this is the whole problem of Am Yisrael in Mitzrayim was that they wore kilayim. The Midrash, what we call metil leachor, the Midrash reflects things from Chazal's time, like kilayim, like problems with the culture of the Romans, etc., on Mitzrayim. But the Targum, the translation is very clear that both of them are very similar. אם כן, לא הייתה נותנת מידת הדין לישראל, שיגאלו ממצרים לעולם. So there is no reason why Am Yisrael should be exempt. אמר רב שמואל בר נחמני. So why באמת Am Yisrael was exempt from מצרים? אילולי שאסר הקדוש ברוך הוא בשבועה, לא נגאלו ישראל לעולם. So הדאו דכתיב, לכן אמור לבני ישראל אני השם. אין לכן אלא שבועה, כמו שאמרת, לכן נשבעתי לבני אלי. So it's very interesting. According to the Midrash, not only that Am Yisrael is very similar to Mitzrayim, but the conclusion is that Am Yisrael is exactly like Mitzrayim, and without the very basic shvuah, oath, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would sworn to himself that he would, to the Avot, that he would take out Bnei Israel, there's no reason. It's funny because you know that now we're nearing Yom HaAtzmaut, and the Rabbi Misatmer famous Shita was based on the Gemara at the end of Masechet Ketubot, that there are 3 שבועות שהקדוש ברוך הוא השביע את אומות העולם, or 6 oaths, one of them שלא יעלו בחומה, that Am Yisrael cannot try to get into Eretz Israel without the permission. Okay, so there is a question whether Atzarat Balfour, the declaration of Lord Balfour in 1917, was a permission from Umot HaOlam, or the political situation enabled Am Yisrael to start the Aliyah. But most of the Haredic world then understood that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't permit Am Yisrael to try, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu forbidden them in oath to Ligael. And now we say that Geulat Mitzrayim was on the contrary, בדיוק הפוך. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Am Yisrael didn't want and didn't have any reason why to be exempt. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the only one who swore to take them out. אמר רב ברכיה, גאלת בזרוע עמך, בטרוניה. So here you can understand it both ways. HaKadosh Baruch Hu גאלת בזרוע עמך, כלומר גאולה בכוח. He used his power לגאול. Usually we understand, as we said in שירת הים, in קריאת ים סוף, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu used יד חזקה, זרוע נטויה, used a lot of מכות on the back of the Egyptians. But here, it might be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu exempt עם ישראל from מצרים בזרוע נגד רצונם, against their own will, that's one פירוש, or against his own will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, בטרוניה, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Meshuabad, is enslaved Kivyochol to his own oath that he has given to the Avot, and just because of that does he exempt Am Yisrael from Mitzrayim. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself didn't want, and that's why he needed to use his roa bekoach. Okay, so we see an extrapolation. The Midrash started with the Shoshana ben Achuchim, started with Rivka, moved to Am Yisrael, and we now find out, בכלל לא קשור לפרשת קדושים, and we now find out that according to the Midrash, Am Yisrael have no reason at all to be להיגאל. אוקיי, אמר רב יודן, מלבוא לקחת לו גוי מקרב גוי, כן, הקדוש ברוך הוא said, as we said before, when he describes the יציאת מצרים, או הניסה, אשם העם, כל אלוקים גדולים מתוך האש, או הניסה אלוהים לבוא לקחת לו גוי מקרב גוי, ומורה, ומסות, וכו', ומוראים גדולים. So till then, till the word מוראים גדולים, till the words מוראים גדולים, ע"ב אותיות הם. We have 72 letters. And here you see again as a midrash like modern Baba or modern Gematria person. The midrash says 72 אותיות הם, 72 letters. And what does it symbolize? The Shem HaMeforash, we know it in Gemara Besukah, a lot of other places, that the Shem HaMeforash is based on Ayin Bet Otiyot. Yes, it's a machloket whether Shem HaMeforash is just 4 letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei or Ayin Bet Otiyot. Machloket Rishonim, what was mentioned in the Mikdash. But ואם יאמר לך אדם 7 ו5, so if you don't believe me and you count and then you find that I was mistaken in 3 letters, אמור להם מוצא מהם גוי השני שאינו עולה מן המניין. So Rabbi Yehuda knows to count exactly and he knows that it's 75, but he thinks that the word גוי, גוי מקרב גוי, אינו עולה מן המניין. אוקיי. אמר רבי אבין, בשמו גואלן, ששמו של הקדוש ברוך הוא ע"ב אותיות. What does it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu goel otam bishmo? So it means that you know that there is something basic that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mechuyav to it. And shmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu keilu his reputation to the world. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have any reason to take them out. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want because they don't have any difference between them and Mitzrayim. But since HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his own reputation, his own name, and the name promised to Avot, to Am Yisrael, to take them out, just because of that, does HaKadosh Baruch Hu goel otam. Rabbi Azaria, B'Shem Rabbi Yehuda B'Rabbi Simon. So that's the third explanation to the Shoshana ben Ochachim. The first one was the distinction of Rivka. The second one was not a distinction. On the contrary, the non-distinction of Am Yisrael in Mitzrayim, but the difficulty to pick them up, like Shoshana. Rabbi Azaria B'Shem Rabbi Yehuda ben Simon Omer, third explanation. למשל למלך, שהיה לו פרדס נטוע, שורה של תאנים, ושל גפנים, ושל רימונים, ושל תפוחים. So he has a lot of rows of trees, good trees, and he doesn't have time to maintain and to take care of the field. So הוא מסר לאריס והלך לו. So he gives it out to some aris, a person in charge, that does all the works of the agriculture, and then he goes away. לאחר ימים בא המלך והציץ בפרדס, לידע מה עשה, ומצאו מלא חוכים ודרדרים. So he comes back and finds it full of thistles. הביא קצצים לקוצו. So he brings some gardeners. הציץ באותן החוכים, וראה בו שושנה אחת של ורד. Okay? שושנה אחת של ורד, so a rose, or what rose and what ורד is? It's a different flower. Okay. נטלה והריח בה ושבת נפשו עליה. Meaning that he was very frustrated. He was very angry. He wanted to destroy the whole Sadeh, maybe to fire the Aris. And then he finds some nice flower, which reminds him, which gives him a settledness and gives him שבת נפשו עליה. He's coming down. אמר המלך, בשביל שושנה זו ינצל כל הפרדס. כך כל העולם כולו לא נברא אלא בשביל התורה. So the Torah was קדמה לעולם, אוקיי? התורה היא נבראה כמעט 1,000 דורות was created almost 1,000 generations before the עולם. לאחר כ"ו דורות הציץ הקדוש ברוך הוא לעולמו, לידע מה עשה, ומצא מלא מים במים. דור אנוש, מים במים. דור המבול, מים במים. דור הפגלגה, מים במים. So it means that when he finds it full of water, means there is no distinction of the world. I created it for a matara, for some reason, and I don't find that this generation fulfills this reason. So it's just like full of water, like the second day without ותראה יבשה. I don't see the necessity of creating a יבשה as the world itself. דור הפלגה, מים במים. הביא קצצים לקוצצו. So הקדוש ברוך הוא wants to למחות את העולם. נאמר, השם למבול ישב. Meaning, השם למבול ישב, we say it in קבלת שבת. What does it mean? הקדוש ברוך הוא settled down by the מבול. By the storm that he has brought, he settled down his mind because he really thought, I'm so angry. For what reason did I create it? So he said, yes, okay, I'll destroy it. ראה בו שושנה אחת של ורד, אלו ישראל. הוא נטלה והעריכה בשעה שנתן להם 10 הדיברות ושבת נפשו עליו. כן? So the Midrash looks in macro on the world, yes, because there is a lot. It doesn't say that the Shoshana was Noach, because Noach is not Am Israel. Noach maybe is not good enough to be called the Shoshana. He looks in macro for all the generation from more than 1,000 years, from Noach till Avraham, till Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Moshe Rabbeinu, and then he knows that one day I'll bring the Torah. And since it was created for Torah, so now I find the Torah in the future in עשרת הדיברות. ונטלה והעריכה, so he smells that Am Israel would say, בשעה שאמרו נעשה ונשמע, אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא בשביל שושנה זו ינצל הפרדס. So what does the Shoshana mean here? The Shoshana is not unique because of its color, because of its redness, because of its distinction among the thorns, but because of its smell. So it's a subtle difference between Midrash Aleph and Midrash Gimel. According to Midrash Aleph, the uniqueness of the Shoshana is in its shoni. The only reason that it's not like thorns. Here, it's not enough. It's not enough. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs is the smell. Is when you smell something, the smell is very basic. It's very intrinsic in our body. And sometimes you can smell things that you had 40, 50, 60 years ago. You just remember the smell. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he just smells the smell of Torah that would come in a certain devote, it reminds him that 1,000 generations before, why I created the world. בשעה שאמרו, נעשה ונשמע, אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, בשביל שושנה זו ינצל הפרדס, בזכות תורה וישראל ינצל העולם. So pay attention, Am Israel is not, it's just a media to learn Torah. Am Israel, according to this Midrash, doesn't have a unique reason to be exempt, but because of the fact that Am Israel learns Torah, because you know that there is a big machloket between Rav Kook and the other people who were with him, Ridvaz, etc., based on Divrei HaMaharal and Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, whether Am Israel has 2 layers or 1 layer. I'll explain. According to most of the philosophers of Judaism, Am Israel has just 1 layer of Kiyum mitzvot or not Kiyum mitzvot. If they fulfill the mitzvot, they are good and they deserve all the promises of the Torah. If they, on the contrary, chas v'shalom, so on the contrary. Rav Kook has a long igeret that he sends to the Ridvaz. The Ridvaz was a Rav in Tzfat, and he was very Haredi, and he didn't like the yachas of Rav Kook to Zionism. and to all the good eyes that he looked on Zionists. And Ridvas told him, what are you talking about? They're all Mechalelei Shabbat, Kofrim, Boalei Nidot. What are you doing? Why are you dealing with them? So Rav Kook tells him that Am Yisrael has two layers. We all talk, Rav Kook says, about the two layer, about the layer of Kiyum Mitzvot. But on the first layer, there is the unique of Am Yisrael, the Sgula, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen in Am Yisrael without any reason, not because of Kiyum HaTorah. There is no reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose in Am Yisrael. So we saw before that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose just because of his name. Here we see again, not here, I mean, we can say that Am Yisrael was chosen from the same reason, not because he has any good reason, not because he will learn Torah, but because of metaphysic reason that we don't understand, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us, and that's his Sgula. And Rav Kook, Maharal, wants in his book Netzach Israel, wants to found the base of Am Yisrael not on Kiyum Torah or Mitzvot, but on his Sgula. Here, you see on the contrary, like the Ridvaz, because here you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have any reason to be Goel Am Yisrael, just because Am Yisrael would fulfill mitzvot in the future, not because Am Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mechuyav to him. In the second midrash, we saw that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mechuyav to himself, but not to Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael doesn't have any sgula. The only sgula is a smell that the Torah reminds the Kadosh Baruch Hu of the reason for creating the world. Let's see another one. Rav Hanan de Tzipori Pater Kri begmilut chasadim. We have the fourth explanation. גמילות חסדים. בנוהג שבעולם, 10 בני אדם נכנסים לבית האבל, ואין אחד מהם יכול לפתוח את פיו ולברך ברכת אבלים, ואחד מהם פותח פיו ומברך, דומה כששונה בין החוכים. כן? So the Midrash here brings a very nice situation in which everybody knows that you come to Beit Avelim and it's you find it very uneasy to start talking, and you know that according to Halacha, אז פתח איוב ויספר, so you have to בעצם to wait till the mourner, Avel, starts talking to you, because you cannot start talking with him. That's a base halacha. Some people say that nowadays people don't know this halacha, so maybe instead of just sitting and waiting, you have to start talking. But basically, he has to start, not you. So 10 people get into the Beit Avel. Nobody opens his mouth. Nobody knows what to say. So one is brave enough, and he says, yes, פותח פיו ומברך, דומה לשושנה בנוכחים. He is a man among the others who don't do anything. בנוהג שבעולם, 10 בני אדם נכנסים לבית הכנסת. אין אחד מהם יכול לפרוס עד שמה ולעבור לפני התיבה. So in the days of the Midrash, 9 people of the 10 don't know to read, don't know to daven, don't know what to do. ואחד מהם יודע. So he is במקום שאין אנשים, wherever you don't have people, you be the one. דומה לשושנה בנוכחים. So, שושנה בנוכחים. So here the שושנה בנוכחים doesn't mean bad and good. Doesn't mean like thistles and rose. It means somebody who acts like a human being, and 9 people who acts like goylem, like they don't just know what to do, not they are bad. Okay? Rabbi Az, the Midrash tells us, Rabbi Elazar az l'chad atar. He went to one place, אמרו לו פרוס על שמה. פרוס על שמה, a lot of explanation in the Mishnah of ברכות, but let's start ברכת יוצר אור, זה ברכות of קריאת שמע. אמר להם, לינה חכם, not me, עבור לפני התיבה, אמר להם לינה חכם, אמרין, דינו רב אליעזר, דינו דעתן מתגלגלין על מגן, סבכין רבי, this is Rabbi Eliezer that you say about him, how big he is, a Rebbe is. נתקרקמו פניו, והלך לו אצל רבי עקיבא רבו. Yes, very... no, it's Rabbi Elazar, so it's not Rabbi Elazar, sorry. So it's Rabo. Yes, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he went to Rabbi Akiva. And אמר לו, למה פניך חוניות? Why do you look bad? תני לעובדה, he told him. אמר לי, צברי מרי דיאליף, do you want to learn from me? אמר לו, אין, אלפי. So it means that he didn't really know how to daven, how to be a chazan. So Rabbi Akiva is taught him, לוותר יומי אז אל האוואטרה, אמרו לו פרוס עוד שמה, עבר לפני התיבה. אמרן, התחסם רבי אלעזר, וקוראים לזה רבי אלעזר חיסמה. So now Rabbi Elazar has become a human being, התחסם. You know that you take זכוכית, so you can buy זכוכית which is breakable, or you can buy זכוכית מחוסמת. What does it mean? That even if it breaks down, it breaks down to pieces, you know, it's not to triangles, danger triangles. It's called זכוכית מחוסמת. So the same thing here with התחסם רבי אלעזר. Now he has become a person. He knows to daven, he knows to לפרוס על שמה. Okay. רבי יונה הווה מליף לתלמידי ברכת אבלים, אמר יאבון גברין בכל מילה. So רבי יונה is taught his תלמידים ברכת אבלים, what to do or what to say in בית האבל, in order that there will be men, because otherwise they'll sit just like golem among the others. So, okay, here you find Shoshana ben Achuchim, fourth explanation. Now we'll see the fifth and maybe the last one. Rabbi Chanina Breder Rabbi Abba Pater Kra במלכויות. מה שושנה זו, כשהיא נתונה בין החוכים, look how nice it is, רוח צפונית יוצאת ומטה אותה כלפי דרום, והחוך עוקצה. רוח דרומית יוצאה ומטה אותה כלפי צפון, והחוך עוקצה. ואף על פי כן, ליבה מכוון כלפי מעלה. So now you see that the Shoshana ben Achuchim, not only that is unique, not only that it's difficult to pick up, but the Shoshana ben Achuchim suffer from the thorns surrounding it. Why? Because when there is a wind from the north, so the Shoshana goes to the south, and then the southern thorn makes a scratch on it. Later on, there is a wind to the other direction. So the other direction in the north, thorn scratches it. Even though, ליבה מכוון כלפי מעלה. You don't look what in the sides of the rose. The beauty of it is from the opening and the color and from the upper part, because the upper part is directed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't look what it has on its sides, all the scratches. כך אין ישראל, אף על פי שהם נגבין אוננויות ואנגריות, that אומות העולם takes a lot of mistaxes and punishments and scratches from עם ישראל, ליבן מכוון כלפי אביהם של בשמיים. עם ישראל is שושנה בין החוכים. מה איתמה? עיניי תמיד על השם, כי הוא יוציא מרשת רגלי, because we understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu were directing our eyes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because understand that what happens to our sides, what happens to our legs in the Pasuk is not so important. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of it. Rav Ivo Pater Kra begeulat machar. Okay? What does it mean? מה שושנה זו, כשהיא נתונה בין החוכים, היא קשה על בעלה ללא כתר. We've seen it in בית. מה הם עושים? What does the owner of the rose does in order to pick it up from the thorns? מביאים את האור, והם צורפים חוץ לה, ואחר כך לוקטין אותה. Everybody that has pardes full of קוצים, דרדרים, קני סוף, pipes, what does he do? He waits till the summer, till it's very dry. Then he burns all the thistles. He makes a set burn that he stands next to it, and he knows exactly where and when to extinguish it. And then it burns all the bad parts of the field, and you remain with a good rose. מביאים את האור, we brings a fire, והם שורפים חוצה לה, ואחר כך לוקטין אותה. כך ציווה השם ליעקב סביבה וצריו. אוקיי? כגון, הקדוש ברוך הוא brings us a lot of thistles surrounding גם ישראל. As we see in ספר שופטים, all of it full of פלישתים and מואב and Ammon, they all disturb us. זה מדרש brings from בית שני, חלמיש לנווה, יריחו לנהרן, סוסיתא לטבריה, גיסטריה לחיפה, לוד לאונו, אוקיי? All of these cities are full of goyim, and they're adjacent to Jewish cities. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings a lot of goyim to surround us, to frighten us, to make us problems. הדאוד הכתיב, זאת ירושלים, בתוך הגויים שמתיה. It's like, it's ממש, it's not, usually we understand that Am Yisrael is born like a Shoshana among the thistles. It's a chidush, it's a marvelous thing that you go to a field full of thorns and then you find out that one rose tzamcha even though. But here it's on the contrary. The basic field belongs to the Shoshana. The basic Eretz Yisrael belongs to Am Yisrael. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings as a punishment all the thorns around it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the majority, the thorns, but the natural is not the thorns. The natural is just the rose. Zot Yerushalayim בתוך הגויים שמתיה. HaKadosh Baruch Hu surrounds Yerushalayim with a lot of goyim in order to make a problem, to punish us, to disturb us. למחר, כשיגיע הקץ. But it's very easy to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remove them when ימות המשיח קם. מביא את האור ושורף חוצה לה. עד האוד הכתיב, והיו עמים משרפות ציד, ומה כתיב באור? השם בדד ינחנו. So then Am Yisrael is left like the Shoshana, and all the Umot are burnt. So we started with the Shoshana as unique flowering or unique color, unique difficulty to pick it up. Now we end, as to now, because the Midrash goes on, but we don't have time. We end as a fifth explanation here that Am Yisrael is Shoshana ben Umot HaOlam, but it's not that Am Yisrael is unique, that is Am Yisrael tzamach למרות Umot HaOlam. No, Am Yisrael is the base. Am Yisrael is the Ikar. Am Yisrael is set in his own place. The thistles, the thorns around it, there is a meshune, there is a weird thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings just as a punishment, but on the other hand, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to remove them, it's very easy, it just burns, and Am Yisrael, B'ezrat Hashem, will be left alone in its place. Shavua Tov.
עוד פעם, ישכוח, בשבוע הבא, Mike didn't hear.
שבוע הבא, on Wednesday is, first of all, is Yom HaZikaron. So, the Tzfira, I think it's 11 o'clock, but even I'm in Hadassah. So either that I can give it on Tuesday, the same hour, the same time, if it's okay for you, 9:30. So I assume that if you're 4, so it's okay. And we can do it on Tuesday, unless you tell me otherwise. Or that we do it on Wednesday, some other time. So if you all agree, Tuesday, it's okay, Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay?
Yeah.
Mike, Tuesday, okay?
But for me, it's fine. Tuesday's okay.
Fine.
There?
And Mike,
okay.
Are you here? Is it okay, Tuesday?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll say Tuesday. I'll remind you, B'ezrat Hashem, on the WhatsApp group. Okay? Yeah. I'll remind you on Monday or something. להתראות, שבוע טוב.
שבוע טוב.